as the Big Ten burns. little change up for you today. I know. Let me sit up like usually we're here talking Pac-12 dying or surviving. Today, though, we talk as the Big Ten burns. And an interesting development out of the Big Ten today, we hear that they are chasing ACC schools. Virginia and North Carolina, speaking of Michael Jordan not pushing off, would be the top two targets. And it was interesting as we got into this story, we started doing some digging. And one of the first things we heard from our sources around the country was that Florida State is still actively looking to disrupt the ACC. Jake, is it uncouth or is this exactly the right time for the Big Ten to be making a move?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Big Ten, just got their, their new media rights deal done. And so I think after, whether you're a college football conference or a college athletic conference or you're the NBA, let's say, anytime you get a media rights deal done that kind of secures your future for a little while, you're going to go ahead and start shifting your focus to expansion. And I think the Big 12 is the Big 10 is uniquely positioned to expand. Obviously you've got this really beefy TV, distribution deal. And so I think you can afford to look at adding, a couple of teams. And I do think that obviously there is a thirst in the ACC to break that conference up and kind of do some realigning. And I think a lot of the ACC teams, including, your Florida States, your Virginias, your UNCs, I think they're hungry for a fresh media deal.
Absolutely.
They look at the Big Ten and they're like, damn, you guys are papered up. They look at the Big 12 and they're like, damn, you guys are papered up for the Big 12. Like, we want some more money. And the problem is they're locked in until 2035. And so you look at this situation and it's like, okay, well, how would you begin to go about breaking up a grant of rights situation that is ironclad, locked up until 2035? Well, you got to put together a majority of schools to do that. So how do you start that process? Well, all the schools need a new home first, right? Before you go to the table and say, hey, we want to break this thing up, everyone needs a new home. So that's why I think right now for the Big Ten, this is perfect timing. You got your media rights deal done. Yeah. Now it's time to go hunting.
I think you're exactly right. I think it is perfect timing. But here's a question that I ask, and I know that this is crazy. I know we tend to get off the rails on this show.
What?
But if you're Virginia in North Carolina, is it all about the money? Is that all this is? Because aren't they a much better fit in the SEC than they are in the Big Ten? With all due respect to the Big Ten. And I understand, Brett McMurphy put out a tweet today that I think blew a lot of people's mind. Look at the numbers on here. Look at the numbers on here, you guys. These are the top schools in 2022 in athletic revenue, according to the USA Today. And if you notice right there on top, Ohio State. Ohio State at $251 million. Any surprise at Texas? Second. Alabama third at $214 million. Michigan at $210. Georgia only at $203. How did Alabama get $214 and Georgia's at $203? But look what it is. LSU, Texas A&M, Florida, Penn State, Oklahoma at 10, $177 million. By the way, you might want to go down to 19 and find the Pac-12 somewhere, as Oregon's at 153. But is this a visual representation of why the Big Ten is a better fit? Or am I wrong in saying I think the SEC is a far better fit for Virginia and North Carolina? And I say that because if you're North Carolina specifically, I think you are a basketball institution. Almost inarguably, North Carolina is a basketball institution. If you go to the Big Ten, yes, you get that $100 million payday. I would assume you're not going to have to ramp up. But let's say you get 3/4 at $75 million. That doesn't solve the issue that you have travel logistics issue. You have in North Carolina, you have SEC schools all around you. It makes your life easy. It makes your student athlete existence better. Jake, I feel like the SEC is a far better fit for Virginia and North Carolina than the Big Ten.
And I think the only trouble with it is that the SEC is more of a football conference than a basketball conference. And I look at a lot of these ACC schools, and I say, hey, look, this conference has already crowned Clemson for a reason. I mean, you're not a football conference. You're just not. And you're a power every year in basketball. And so I think, when you look at it from that perspective, it's like, okay, we know the SEC is just better than you at football. We just know that. Every single year, there's 2 teams from the SEC that were in the 4-team college football playoff. Obviously, it's expanded now, so kind of a different situation. But up until this point, it was basically 2 teams from the SEC, Ohio State, and whoever the hell was the 4th team. I mean, that's essentially what we were looking at. So when I look at Virginia and UNC, I say, yeah, I mean, the SEC travel-wise, it's probably a better fit. Yeah, but at the same time, it's not like you're talking about, well, hey, are we going to fly from, North Carolina to Georgia? Or are we going to fly from North Carolina to Oregon? It's not that much different. You're talking about flying from North Carolina to Ohio, Michigan, the Midwest. And so when I look at it from a travel perspective, I, in my opinion, kind of feel like it's sixes really. It's kind of the same thing. But what I struggle with is if you go and specifically with UNC and Virginia, if those 2 schools were to go into the SEC, those are bottom feeder football programs for probably 2 or 3 years at least. They obviously they deserve a chance to ramp up. Okay, great. Maybe they ramp up and all of a sudden UNC is some football powerhouse, which in my opinion is never going to happen. But let's just say it happened. Okay, great. That's perfect world scenario. But if you put UNC and Virginia in the Big Ten, what do we get? Well, we get 2 teams who are basketball first in a conference that, frankly, is super duper top heavy in football and better in basketball, more spread out in basketball, better chances in the tournament in basketball than the college football playoffs. So, in my opinion, I think they both offer unique value and good value. It's really just which situation do these schools want to be in.
Yeah, and I think I look at Virginia a little differently. I think Bronco Mendenhall, obviously, his last 2 years were not great, but I mean, they have an Orange Bowl appearance. I think Virginia absolutely can be a football powerhouse. Is that to say a national championship contender? Probably not. In basketball, they've proven to be that. I look at North Carolina. I don't care what Mitch Trubisky has to say about it. I think North Carolina is a basketball school from the jump.
Yep.
Obviously, Drake May is going to have something to say about that this year. But I look at North Carolina individually, and I say you need to be in the SEC. The Big Ten, I think everybody looks at that $100 million payday and they're like, oh yeah, I got to get to the Big Ten. I look at this Florida State situation. Our sources telling us that Florida State continues to be a problem for the ACC. And I say to myself, Florida State, if Florida State really wants the Big Ten, I would let them go. Is there anybody who really wants to be teammates with Florida State? Because it feels like Florida State's that neighbor that's a pain in the ass and wrecks every HOA board meeting, right? Like they're the ones, and they just seem like that problem child right now. And I think it's unbecoming. And I think, frankly, it lowers their value. I look at a program like North Carolina. It's without question. If you could add North Carolina, there's not a conference in this country that wouldn't do that.
Facts.
Who wouldn't do that? You look at the basketball history. You look at the national championships, the Dean Smith, the Dean Dome, Dean Smith. You look at. What Roy accomplished there. You look at all of the championship 2 years ago now. You look at all the success. It is not in question. They are a premier brand. Do you want, and one of the interesting arguments I think always comes up with North Carolina is North Carolina or. Well, I think one of the best ors is Kentucky right now. North Carolina or Kentucky. And I look at the problems that Cal is having in Lexington. I don't want anything to do with that. I feel like it's dysfunction. I feel like, yo, dude, I think Kansas is a better property than Kentucky right now, and I think North Carolina is better than both. And I look at the SEC, North Carolina going to the SEC and dominate right now today. They would be arguably the best basketball team in that conference.
Yeah.
Right now today.
Yep.
So I just view, and I'm trying not to. We took a lot of heat last week, and everybody was saying that I was slandering. How dare you make fun of Ohio State? Look, I get it, and I'm not even making fun of Ohio State.
Everybody is outraged.
They're all pissed off, right? Like I said it the other day when Bucky came knocking on my door. I was like, hey, bruh, Ryan Day is one of the best coaching stories that nobody talks about, because it's just expected that when Bucky comes to your door, you're going to bow down, bend the knee to Ryan Day in Ohio State. Right? Like it just is, because he's done such a good job. I think they've done a great job. That doesn't change the fact that the Big Ten is a 3-team league.
Yeah.
And I'm stretching to Penn State. It's a 3-team league. Until SC and UCLA get there, it's a 3-team league.
Yeah.
And it ain't much deeper in basketball than those 3 teams in football. And the bloviating and the absolute overvaluing of the Big Ten based on their TV deal. It's great that the Big Ten's making $100 million, and I'm not trying to take that away from them. But please don't sit here and tell me that, oh, this is a great conference. It's not. Oh, man, a powerhouse. It's not. They're not 5 deep. Ohio State, Michigan, and maybe Penn State in football. That doesn't mean the rest are trash. There's another 3-4 there, but that's it. That's all. That's it. I really struggle with the value of the Big Ten. But, dude, I look at the ACC. There's real brands in that conference. The problem is in football, you already crowned Clemson, right? They've won the 2023 ACC championship. It's a basketball league that wants to play football. The problem is they're in this grant of rights that has them locked into the conference for 57 years, right? Like I joke.
Stay hard.
Right, but we're talking about 10 more years in that league.
Yeah. Yep.
It's untenable. It is absolutely untenable. And the problem is there's real value and real money being made on college basketball in that league.
Yeah.
That's the league that Brett Yormark's model needs to work in. That's the league that should be leading the country in college basketball, whether it is revenue, whether it is technology, whether it is innovation.
Yeah.
Yet it's not, because of this grant of rights. And it frankly opened the door to the Big 12 to do a lot of creative stuff over the last 12 months that I think has just been so fantastically handled.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see. I again will just say, if I am North Carolina and Virginia, I'm going to the SEC.
Yeah.
I think it's a far better fit.
Yeah, I mean, I fit wise, yeah, sure. I think I'd also be looking at it from a revenue standpoint. Obviously, if you're just after money, the Big Ten's where you want to be, and again.
But isn't that what happened in the ACC? Oh, long grant of rights, stability. We're gonna be the. No, you're not.
Yeah.
No, because you all chase because they all chase the money, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I'm telling you, prosperity in the Big Ten is very difficult. Very, very difficult. When you have a league, and this is the Super League model, everybody gets excited. Everybody's like, oh my God, there's 3 conferences and they all have 71 teams.
Stay hard.
Well, hey, that's cool. Get excited, man. Blood's flowing. How are you going to have a dynasty anymore? How are you going to have rivalries anymore? I don't think super conferences are the way to prosperity in college athletics. I don't. I think you got to get rid of the NCAA. I think you got to get rid of grants of rights. And in my opinion, I think you have to have balanced conferences, because these 2 or 3 team conference models, dude.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, all you're doing is paying the haves, and you are cutting out the have-nots.
Yep.
It really is. It really is that simple.
Yep.
In my opinion. All right. Less of us, more of you on the Monty Show. Appreciate you guys all being here, all 483 of you. Make sure you hit the like button. Really appreciate that. Appreciate our new members today. Shadatu How To Do is a new member of the show.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Who the fuck are you?
Shadota, Ekpe Udo. I don't know.
Explain that?
Welcome. John Teal gives us $2 to say Florida State, North Carolina, Miami, and Notre Dame plus 4 more Pac schools. Awesome. Why is everybody so fixated on Notre Dame? What is it that makes people believe? And John Teal, I'm not telling you you're wrong. What is it that makes people believe that Notre Dame all of a sudden is going to change their mind and join the Big Ten?
In God's name, image, and likeness.
Because that's the only thing that makes sense. They're a football independent, and I don't see any way that they just all of a sudden join the Big Ten as a football program and leave their basketball in the ACC. Does that make sense to anybody?
No.
That don't make sense to me. Like, I look at that Notre Dame situation, I think it's going to be very interesting. Very, very interesting, because I personally don't think they're going to join a conference, and if they do, I don't think it's going to be any conference outside of the Big Ten. Because why would they? In my opinion.
They wouldn't.
And I think this is why one of the greatest talking points in college sports, can Florida State break up the ACC? Because I'm telling you, it feels like they're trying.
Yeah.
They're trying. Jeremy Calzone, 23 years since the Big Ten has won a men's hoop title, yet every year they are touted as a powerful conference and get the most effing teams into the tournament. It's a joke. Oh, it's all hype.
Yeah.
It's all
all hat, no cattle.
Wow. I am so bricked up over that comment. To drop an all hat, no cattle is
so bricked up right
oh
now.
my God, that
Dude,
is one
incredible.
of your greatest lines ever.
I know, isn't it?
Ever. Steve Smith says, do you think Duke would go to the Big 12 if UNC goes either to the SEC or the Big 10? You know, Duke is interesting because Duke is Duke. But Duke also plays football.
Yeah.
Duke also plays men's lacrosse, swimming, track, baseball, like full athletic department. But Duke and Carolina have to play for games of consequence every single year, multiple times in basketball.
Yep.
And if that's broken up, I think it is an absolute travesty of justice in college athletics.
Yeah.
Duke, Carolina, and basketball, and I don't care if you don't know a single player. Duke, Carolina, and basketball is a must.
Yeah.
And
Agreed.
it has been for me for 40 years.
But I think Virginia, for college basketball fans, is one of those teams too. I mean, Virginia's been really good, and they've given Duke and UNC and all those guys a run for their money. And I think again, they don't have that same swag, they don't have that same heritage, but
they don't.
Duke, UNC, plus Virginia.
Duke UNC is what rivalries are about.
Yeah.
And I know everybody says, "Oh well, Monty, hey, you got to check out the Buckeyes and the Wolverines. It's Michigan and the Ohio State, and I mean,
Gonzaga.
It's at the shoe, bitches. Like we're ready to go." Duke, Carolina at the Dean Dome.
Dean Dome.
Duke, Carolina at Cameron Indoor. Good night.
Yeah.
Good night.
Yeah. Zion can bust up some more shoes.
Good night. Like, that's a game you'll pay thousands of dollars to go to. Duke, Carolina at the ACC championship game, please. Child, please. Like, that's what college sports should be about. But too many times it's not. And to me, it's unfortunate. Hero 75. The Big Ten, looking at the ACC, tells me that they have decided which teams, if any, they would take from the Pac-12 if it falls, and those teams know it. Oh, I don't think there's any doubt that Stanford, Cal, Washington, and Oregon are as good as gone.
Yeah.
I mean, it is, to me anyway, I think you have to have it. I think you absolutely have to have it. And I think it's one of those things that is not negotiable. Mm-hmm. It's not negotiable. And I think when you look at the Big Ten and where they are now, if you add, and let's get crazy. I mean, let's get delusional. Let's smoke some ayahuasca, drink some peyote, whatever your flavor is. Oregon, Washington, Stanford, and Cal, Virginia, North Carolina, and Notre Dame. Who says no? Who says no? Because you think you're making $100 million now? You add those teams, those 7 teams, dude. Now you're cooking with gas.
It's a lot.
And maybe you balance it with Virginia Tech. Maybe you balance it with Duke. But Duke doesn't fit academically in the Big Ten with Northwestern and Stanford, do they? Could you imagine Duke, Carolina, Virginia, Notre Dame, Oregon, Washington, Stanford, and Cal?
Yeah.
You would have every academic institution worth a crap in your conference, and you'd clearly be I mean, come on.
Yeah.
You're talking about the bee's knees at this point. Like, I mean, that would be unbelievable.
Yep.
Unbelievable. Bryce Martin says, I bet Duke goes where UNC goes, and they'll be like Texas and Oklahoma. I hope so. Because you can't replicate that. Elaine Tran, how the heck are you? I think they will go to the big. We'll see. MH5, my 2-year-old will just about be graduated from high school before the ACC TV deal is over.
Damn.
Before that, before the grant of rights is over in the ACC.
Hey guys.
We're going to grow new redwood trees out behind the barn. Like, it's going to be unbelievable. Who thought that was a good idea?
Somebody.
And I know we say this almost every day on the show.
Yeah.
Who thought that was a good idea? I don't know either, because that was a terrible idea.
Yeah, I don't know who thought that committing to something for that long was.
I mean, bro, it's just not sustainable.
Why would you?
It's just not sustainable. John Teal for $2 says they join or they get a visit from old Two Holes.
Old Two Holes.
You consult in some conferences now, huh? Good old Two Holes.
Hey, good old Two Holes here.
Hey, Commissioner Sankey. Jakey Two Holes is on the phone.
I want you to listen to me.
Could you imagine Jake being the decision maker of, like high level college expansion? I couldn't even imagine it.
No.
I couldn't imagine it.
No, I'm good.
No, bruh, I'm good. I couldn't even imagine it. So
I'm fine. I'm completely fine.
I don't think so.
No.
Tanner Plummer says old Two Holes. That's going to be Jake's nickname when he turns 80.
Yeah.
Exactly right. Shy Bone. Okay. Big B 212 team divisions, total of 24, National League coast to coast. You're not that far off. I mean, if we're being honest, you're really not that far off.
Yeah.
I mean, are we really that far off?
No.
No, we're not. Truck Stop Gumby. Monty will be on Social Security before the ACC grant of rights runs out.
Damn.
Well, I mean, listen, I am on a lot of things, including Bucked Up Energy Miami, which I have sitting right here.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking about opening it, so the taste buds have been watering.
It really hit me.
Dude, Miami's the best in the business. I say it every day on the show. I didn't have my Miami today. Admittedly, driving in from good old South County today, I was a little crabby. Driving into to the studio. And it was, it was cured. Took a buckshot. Now I'm drinking a Bucked Up Energy. Whoa.
Careful, bro.
A Miami. I almost call it a Miami. Drinking a Bucked Up Miami. Dude, it is the best. It reminds me of Hawaii because it's got kind of a pina colada taste.
Yeah, it's pretty good, dude. It's pretty dang good. Smooth.
Easy as the Rocky Mountain streams.
Smooth.
That's Coors Light. But anyway, the point is, Bucked Up Energy, absolutely, you guys. I love it every day. I tell you, I don't want you to take my word for it. Get in the description below. We have 2 great free sample offers for you. The first one is Buckshot, and I don't know what more I can say about Buckshot. It gives you a lift. It is absolutely one of those things where, hey, man, I got back from lunch, and I am tired. Yeah, I'm going to hit a buckshot so I can power through the rest of my day. Hey, I didn't sleep great last night. I'm going to start the day with a bucked up buckshot. Absolutely right. It lifts your mood. You quite literally feel mental energy,
Yes.
and I absolutely love it. Whether I'm golfing, preparing for the show, whether I am, selling or meeting with clients, it doesn't matter. Buckshot makes the conversation better. Get 6 free samples in the description below as well. The Buck Bar is there. I tell you again, you guys know on this show, if you've watched the show for any amount of time, I have really struggled with protein bars until now because the Buck Bar is just next level, and not because it's from Bucked Up. Am I telling you this? I am telling you this because I know how many people struggle to find a bar they like, and I don't know what you guys say in the comments section, but I think when you look at the bar market in this country, they're either full of sugar or it's crazy to me that we don't have a quality bar until right now with the Buck Bar from Bucked Up. You look at the fact that they use whey protein isolate, the very best of the best, lactose-free, protein crisps, which are high protein crisps made with real milk to deliver great texture and flavor. And the best part about these bars, they use natural flavoring like dates. So they're not real, like a lot of people are watching like their blood sugar, and dude, it's low glycemic. I absolutely love the Buck Bar. Get a sampler pack free sent right to your front door in the description below.